Hello, this is Greg Lewis coming at you from Salt Lake City MetaStock Studios. I'm very excited today to participate in this simulcast on both YouTube and GoToWebinar. Like I said, my name is Greg Lewis. I'm the Marketing Director here at MetaStock. At the controls is one Kelly Clement, who happens to be my boss. Say hi, Kelly.
Hello, everybody.
So, like I say, we're really excited today because we're going to be talking about MetaStock 17, which was only just launched, and we're very excited to present. I should mention this is essentially a, what do you call it, a re-presentation? What's the word I'm trying to think of? A duplicate presentation of this morning, and we're going to have other presentations like this throughout the next day that is essentially the same thing. But we want to give people an opportunity to see a live presentation, so those who didn't get to see us as we go to seminars in their particular cities and want to be able to interact live with us will have a chance to do so. So if you didn't see Kelly's this morning, you can see mine now. Jeff Gibby's is going to have one next Thursday. And if you go to metastock.com/webinar, you can see a whole schedule of webinars we set up just for MetaStock 17 for the next few weeks. All right. Having said all that, let's go ahead and start. First thing I have to get out of the way, as we always do when we do these presentations, is our disclaimer. This demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and accompanying software plugins, and is not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of their software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company, which basically means we'll be using specific examples today of how the software works, but in no way am I able to or wanting to tell you to take those positions. Okay, so MetaStock 17. Before we talk about MetaStock 17, it occurs to me there might be people in the audience today who don't really know what MetaStock is, so I'm just going to take a brief moment to highlight what MetaStock exactly is, and then it'll give you more of an idea of how MetaStock 17 can really help you in your trades. MetaStock 17 is, at its very core, a charting program which allows you to chart using technical analysis different securities in the market that you might be interested in. The thing that makes MetaStock distinct and better than our competitors are the power tools. You can see the power tools here on this little tab here. We've traditionally had 4 power tools, and now we've got 2 more that I'm going to talk about today. Those include, the old ones I should say, include the Expert Advisor. The Expert Advisor is a way for you to throw, rather than just looking at a plain chart with price and volume and whatnot, the Expert Advisor allows you to throw systems, or pre-built systems, or add-ons that we have, or your own custom systems, MACD, Bollinger Bands, whatever. And it also adds a commentary description on a day-by-day basis of how to use those things, and we're very proud of that. We have the Explorer, which is essentially a scanner, so you can say you want to find out which securities today in the are hitting a MACD. You can scan for that quickly and dismiss with all the other ones that aren't and move about your way. We also have the system tester. The system tester allows you to back test. Back testing essentially is going back in time and saying, okay, I know I want to set up a security against a particular system and see how it would have worked over time. And it's a very sophisticated way to see, using your criteria, how the indicators you're interested in would do on securities that you're interested in. And then finally, we have the forecaster. And the forecaster basically uses statistical analysis to say, okay, if there's an indicator that I've used on a particular security, what is the statistical significance that it will align with that and go in a particular price direction in the future? And the forecaster is a great thing for telling you where a price might be at a particular time in the future. So, and while I'm at it, a little bit about us here at MetaStock. This is a picture of our tight-knit group here. I show you this for a couple of reasons. One, to show you how adorable and handsome we all are, and also to show you that most of the people in this picture are research and development or support. Very few of the people in this picture are like myself in the business side of things, doing sales or marketing, And that's where we really draw our strength from here at MetaStock. And we're very, very proud of the fact that when people ask us for a particular thing in MetaStock, we can usually deliver that thing in a relatively short amount of time relative to most other companies. So we're really, really proud of that. And we've won, I don't even think I've updated this, it's like 28 or 29 years now, we've won Best Analysis Software in the Technical Analysis of Stocks and Commodities magazine. Okay, so now on to the primary reason most of you attended today. We want to talk about MetaStock 17. Excuse me. All right. Now, as I mentioned, there's here's the whole list of all the features. They include QuoteCenter, OptionScope, legacy file format in Downloader 17, automatic update of symbol database. Some of these will make more sense, of course, after we talk about them. Pre- and post-market data, 14 enhanced usability features. These are the little things that our current users are really going to enjoy. New systems like the Elliott Waves System and the Martin Pring Special K system, and finally the RMO Commentary Window. Now, I have to say, of all of these things, there's been a lot of excitement about the first two especially. And the first one is QuoteCenter. QuoteCenter is basically a list tool. It's how you manage your lists of either positions you're in or your pick list or your portfolio to really get a good high-end view and then quickly granular and dig deep view of what you're doing right now in the market. It includes the ability to view symbols, view online and local data. It can open charts directly from there. And let's just go ahead and open it so we can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, anytime you open MetaStock, is everything okay there?
Move that microphone just a little bit closer.
Oh, does that better?
Yes.
All right, so so anytime you open MetaStock, if you're new user, the first thing you're going to want to do is push this Power Console button right over here, and then basically everything that's really important in MetaStock pretty much shows up right here. And the thing we're going to talk about right now is QuoteCenter. Now, not unlike any other power tool that you open here, when you open up QuoteCenter, you're going to see a list of securities, and we won't get into how this list works and all that in this particular presentation, but you have different online and offline securities and custom securities and public online data lists and whatnot. And you'll notice that when I've selected one's already selected here, so let's see what that is. Dow components. Let's say I want to choose, I don't want to choose that. Let's say my watch list. I got a watch list here. Okay, so I've chosen, now you can see a list of 98 securities, and these have all, unlike other parts of the power console, show right here on the right-hand side. And there's a reason it does that, and I'll go on into that in a minute. But first, let's open up QuoteCenter and see what it does. So you click on this button, Open QuoteCenter. Oh, I haven't been watching my questions very closely. I should mention, if you are watching this on GoToWebinar, go ahead and type a question in, and I'll go ahead and see it on my screen here. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and type this in your YouTube commentary, and Kelly will pick that question up there and pass it along whenever I stop for questions or whenever Kelly feels like he wants to interrupt me and ask me a question. But do realize that both of those things are delayed for a little bit. So if I say, hey, do you have a question, or if you have a security or something, it will take about a minute for you to actually hear that. So don't be disappointed if I don't answer you straight away. All right, so now the QuoteCenter window is open, and let's have a look at that. Okay, right away I should also point out that the market is currently closed, and this is a U.S. markets list. So if the markets were open, since I'm using MetaStock RT, which is real time, you'd see certain animations going on here on the chart. You'd see the tick going up and down based on tick. You'd see these securities changing, I should say the numerals changing of high, low, high, last, low, and open. But since it's not open, they're just static. Just quickly from left to right, you can see you've got the symbols here. You've got the name of the symbol, the tick, whether it's up or down based on the tick. You've got last, high, low, and open price, and you've got volume and open interest. And since I'm using MetaStock real time, I have bid and ask. If you're using MetaStock DC, you would not have bid and ask. You have net change and percent change, and then this is the time it loaded. And again, because the markets are closed, it loaded about the time the market's closed. And the source is online. These are online instances I'm using, but I should point out you could be using this with offline data as well. And then these last two are in case there's an error or validation error, something it needs to tell you. Now, right away, I think you can see the usefulness of this because you can see at a pretty quick glance really what's going on with your pick list. Now this one has 98 open, but maybe your pick list has 20 or whatever, and you can quickly sort on just on any of these really, and see what whose opens are up, what prices you might be interested. You can see, well, I'm not even interested in trading things that are over X amount of price, and you can just see these things at a glance very quickly. Another thing you can do if you're so interested is you can move these columns around to suit your personal tastes. All right, now that's pretty cool, but that's not all. Let's say you want to go ahead and remove a few securities. You can click on any of these securities, and if you right click, you can say delete. Now what that's done is it's deleted from this particular list. Let's say, for instance, I'd open up an S&P 500 list and you had 500 securities in here and you want to take out 30 or 40 or 50. That doesn't change the original S&P 500 list in MetaStock. What it does is give you an opportunity to save that as a new list. So you're not messing with any of your permanent lists you have in MetaStock security lists. So for instance, let's say now I've changed this to do whatever. I've deleted a few things here and there. And now I want to go ahead and save it as a list of my own, and I can say, call it Greg's pick list, whatever. You call it whatever you want to. Although I may have already said that in previous demonstrations, I'll say pick list 2. And then you go ahead and save it. And now, as you can imagine, it's taking a moment to save that list. By the way, are there any questions? No. Okay, another thing to point out is once you do save this list, you'll notice that all the lists that you saved, or you and your coworkers have saved on the community computer here at work, are all saved on this list, and you can pull these up at any time just on a quick pull down list right here. So it's super easy to do. Another thing is if you want to add something to here that's not on this list, you can just say add here by typing in the instrument, or do an instrument search and type it in. I just added Apple on the fly there. So I think you can see how that's a really easy way just to maintain the list that you're interested in, to see at a high level at the things that you want to see. And then what's great about it is now you can drill down. Let me go ahead and push this off the side. Clearly this would work better if you had multiple monitors. We don't, because we have to do this on one presentation, but you can imagine if I put this over on one monitor and had this over on this monitor, you can click on any of these and it will go ahead and open up, oops, sorry. It'll go ahead and open up the chart that you're clicking on. Okay, so that's just a great way. So you can easily imagine your daily workflow. So you say, okay, I'm going to scan the S&P 500 for things that work for whatever system I'm doing today, and you come up with 20 hits, right? And so you double click on that scan, which I haven't shown you how to do, but you can double click on that scan and then open it up in QuoteCenter, and then you've got them all there, and you can quickly say, okay, well, I'm not interested in things that are down today, or I'm not interested in things over a certain amount, and you can just drill in and click on those, and then you can go ahead and see them right here as a chart, and you can go do further analysis. Another thing you can do, as I just mentioned, and let's go in there real quick, is if you happen to do a system test, or I should say an exploration, the report is, oh, excuse me. After you get the resulting exploration, you can open that up in QuoteCenter. I won't go ahead and do that now. All right, so let's go to my handy dandy list and make sure I covered everything in QuoteCenter. Oh, I did miss something in QuoteCenter, and this is important. So within QuoteCenter, let me open up again with just a few things. You have the ability to change it, that's theme. So you can change it to a light theme, if that suits you, or a dark theme with orange, or a dark theme without orange, which is what I like. Okay, let me see. We've got a question. Can all screens in MetaStock 17 have a dark background? White background is very hard on my eyes. Edmund, that's a really good question. Not all screens make it easy to click back and forth in the manner that I just did, but virtually any chart you open up in MetaStock, you can set it up to show really any screen color you want or any background you want, and then you can save that as a template, and MetaStock will work the way you want. However, in other things like Explorer screens or the dialog boxes, it won't be dark. Right now, the only place we have that is in the Explorer and in the Forecaster, and then in your particular charts. So I hope that answered your question. All right, let's move on. manage list. So by review, it's a management tool to manage your list. You can view symbols and really sort and filter on anything. You can view online or local data. I think I mentioned that. You can open charts directly from QuoteChart with it. Oh, the one thing I didn't mention, excuse me, you can open charts directly from QuoteCenter, of course, with just a click. Let's show that real quick. It's probably worth showing. So if you can load up to 600 securities into QuoteCenter, and you can do 200 per page, and we haven't got more than 200, so it doesn't show it here, but if you get more than 200, then you'll see this page will increase here, and you can go from page to page. So you can have up to 3 pages, 200 each, for a total of 600. All right, let's move on. Do we have any final questions about QuoteCenter? It looks like I don't. So let's, and by way of summary, again, that's what QuoteCenter is. You can sort and rank. You can click to open charts. You can build lists and manage lists. Oh, I didn't really show either. I should have shown this, but I can show it here right on this image. As I mentioned before, when you click into QuoteCenter and push on the security list, it'll show on the right here a list of securities. And at this point, you can also add and delete securities and then open QuoteCenter before you even get into QuoteCenter. So that's another way. There's something else I should probably show you. I'm sorry. Also, one thing, you can, at this level, before you go into QuoteCenter, as I mentioned, you can click on things here and remove them or add them. Also, you can say use existing list, and this will show you all the lists you've made. So again, before you even enter QuoteCenter, you can just click on the thing you want and double click on it, and it will open it. So, all right, let's move on. OptionScope. Now, I have to say, of everything I've had an opportunity, so I've had an opportunity to show this new software in several cities around the country, and this is the thing that people really got excited about was OptionScope. OptionScope is a brand new tool, and as you can imagine, it's used to analyze and view options data. It's an options chain, and rather than reviewing this list right here, let's just go right into it and get out of this stuff. Okay. Now again, just push the Power Console button and go to OptionScope. Now, OptionScope, the security list is, of course, going to be a little different than other security lists. If you open a chart list, you can open multiple charts at your leisure. With OptionScope, since you're really just looking at the underlying security of an option, you can only select one. And here you see, you'll know that because it's got a little dot next to it. Let's say, just for instance, I want to open up Apple. And before I even get that far, so I've chosen I want to use the underlying security, which is Apple. And over here on the right, you'll see that you have the ability to filter even before you open up OptionScope. The filters are about, you can filter on expiration date, today, next 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, 365, or all. For this demonstration, I'll do all. You can do strike price filter. You can be within 5% to 25% of the strike price. And expiration types, daily, weekly, quarterly, monthly, and yearly. So let's go ahead and just open up all the options on Apple. Can options Greeks be charted? Yes, you can chart on options. Option Greeks. Can option Greeks be charted? They cannot. Excuse me, I with my readers, I couldn't quite read your question correctly. Edmund is asking, can options Greeks be charted? Edmund, let me drill down at OptionScope a little bit more, and then we'll talk about that. But I can tell you no. The answer is no, but let me tell you what it can do. So let's get, not the cart before the horse, let's get assimilated here. Right on the left here, you're going to see the filters. A lot of the filters that we saw before we even opened OptionScope. You'll see filter on expiration date, a filter on strike price, the expiration type, and if it's in or out of the money, and also Greeks. Now, for instance, let's say I only want to see things that are happening, that are expiring on 6/19/2020. So it's taking a second to reload because it's refiltering. And let's say I want to see things that are closer to the money, let's say maybe 10%. So again, it's reloading and filtering. And now I've really narrowed things down. I won't go, it's really not necessary to say monthly because I'm saying a specific expiration date. And let's just watch things that are in and out of the money because that would help me with this demonstration. So orienting ourselves, let me close this so we can see more. Orienting ourselves here, you've got the security, the baseline security you're looking at here, the underlying security, which is Apple, and this is the current price. And again, if this was alive, if the markets were live right now, since I'm using MetaStock real time, you'd be able to see this changing I believe, a per tick basis. And there's today's date. What we're looking at this options chain, you may be familiar with this if you've seen, I've seen different options chains and they're organized differently. Ours is a little different than the ones I've seen. But basically you can see calls here on the left and puts on the right. And here's the name of the option, the call and the put. And then you've got the Greeks, and Edmund had asked about Greeks. We have all the Greeks, delta, gamma, theta, vega, and rho. And I won't get into specifics on Greeks, but most of you know that those are important. And a lot of people use those for various things, time decay and a variety of things. And we've got them all pre-calculated for you and built right into OptionScope. Then we've got implied volatility and open. And by the way, if you've noticed while I'm hovering over these, they tell you what they are in case it's not apparent by the abbreviation. You've got open interest, volume, net change, percent change, last bid, and ask. And then you've got the same thing on the other side going for the puts. And in the middle, you have the expiration date and you have the strike date. So does anybody have any questions there? All right, now, as I mentioned to Edmund, you cannot chart a Greek, but what you can do, and again, this would work better if we had two monitors, but I don't, is you can chart on the option specifically. So for instance, so let's just imagine this workflow for a minute. Let's say you know you're interested in finding, you use whatever system you use to drill down on the underlying security, and MetaStock can help you with that because of course we have tons of systems and you have access to tons of securities. So then you say, okay, for whatever reason now I like Apple, right? So now I'm going to open up Apple, and for whatever reason I like this expiration date, or I like this, I like this type of, for my risk assessment, this sort of premium and this sort of strike price are good for me. And now I've made some decisions, but I want to be able to analyze the options specifically on a chart, and that's a great thing that you can do with MetaStock. Right there. So any of these that you click on, they will just open up, and you can use any, just as any chart we have with a particular security, you can open up in that same fashion for an option, and you can use whatever. This happens to be the RMO, by the way, which is a trend-based system that I use, and it's very helpful for a variety of reasons, including charting options. Okay, what am I forgetting? Does that answer? Do we have any more questions about OptionScope? Okay. You can also manage these by cutting and pasting and putting in and doing searches, doing set tests and whatnot, but I'm going to just go ahead and let it go at that. I want to point out that, of course, again, it's not just an options chain, it's an options chain that works with MetaStock and works with things that you're already familiar with and integrates really well with MetaStock. And that's why the eyes just lit up on the seminars that I attended, because they could see the advantages of that. All right. What's next? Let's see. Sort by expiration, filter on expiration, calls per volatility. I think I covered everything there. Oh, no, I didn't cover everything. Excuse me. One final thing. I'm using MetaStock real time, and I use, as a part of that, Zenith real-time data and news. And that has built into it options data. If you're using MetaStock DC, which is our daily charts, our end-of-day program, and data link data, it does not have options built in, and we have produced an additional options add-on for data link called U.S. Options and Equities, or U.S. Equities and Options. And that is available for $14.95 a month. So just as an FYI, if you are using DC and you want to use OptionScope, there will be an additional fee for the data package. Oh, by the way, we'll discuss some deals on that at the end of the presentation. So again, OptionScope, great thing, allows you to sort on just about everything, gives you the Greeks, allows you to chart, and now we're on to the next thing. Any questions about OptionScope? You won't hear this for about a minute, so I'll keep on looking at. I don't know why I asked that and look right away, like I'm going to see questions. All right. The next one is a seemingly small thing, but it's really a big thing. And this is one of those things that our current members do get excited about. Because symbols change over time, there's different reasons the symbol change, and we have to update our symbol database. And previously, in previous versions of MetaStock, you had to do that manually. Essentially, you had to go to our website, download this package, then upload it manually into MetaStock. If you didn't, you risk not having the current symbol database. Well, now, huzzah, we've made this automatic. So now there's really nothing to show you. Every time you open, or occasionally when you open MetaStock, there will be a dialog saying, hey, you have had your security, your symbol database is uploaded automatically. All right. Next is pre-post market data. Now you may or may not be aware that when the market closes and you go to sleep, things still happen in the market. Let's go ahead and open up a clean Apple chart to illustrate this. And I'll say clean. Okay, now if I go in intraday and say, let's say hourly chart, you don't have to go back too far before you see that there's a gap, right, between the 4th and the 5th or whatever that is. And that's when the market, between the time the market closed and the time the market opened, something happened, and it's not illustrated in this chart because this current chart doesn't show you pre and post close data. In order to do that, all you have to do on MetaStock 17 is right-click on the chart, go to Window Properties, go down to Trading Sessions, and click this magical box here, which says Include Pre and Post Data. And you know what, before I did that, I meant to actually identify this because I'm going to lose it. I think we can understand the illustration, but let me go ahead and identify real quick before we do that. Okay, let's try that again. Hourly chart. Okay, right-click, Window Properties, and click this, and now you can see that that's filled in mostly. So that basically fills in the data between the two periods that were not previously available, and it gives you an idea what's going on in the market before and after the market closed, and that's essentially what it is. Any questions? No. All right, next. Download or convert in legacy or MS local. Now, if you've been using MetaStock a long time, you may be recall when actually, well, or not, you may be using the downloader. And the downloader is a way you can download offline data to use in MetaStock. Now, if you don't use this, you may wonder why would I even do that? Well, of course, if you want to use MetaStock on a plane or in a submarine or in your basement that doesn't have internet, you're going to want to be able to have access to data after the fact. So you can download it and use it offline. And as part of that process, we had different datas. We had legacy, MS local, and CSV. And it depended on the version of MetaStock you had, what downloader you had, on what you could use to convert one or the other. You had to tell it to download a certain way. Well, now you can use one downloader, MetaStock 17 downloader, to download any of these versions of data, and also to convert one back and forth to another. I won't illustrate this, but it's essentially a great tool for people who are not using live data, but will use data offline. Any questions about that? No. Make sure I'm looking at the right screen. I am. Okay. All right. Now we have a whole array of user-requested enhancements. These are the little things that really drive people crazy or make people love software, just the usability factors, the ease of use and the ease of finding things. And we've got a whole list of them here, but I'm going to dig into just a few really quick and show you. And again, these are things that current users are really going to enjoy and appreciate more than maybe new users would. One is backup user files. Now, if you know anything about MetaStock, you know that's very customizable. You can make your own systems. You can draw on your charts the way you want. You can be very, very, very detailed about drawing on charts and smart charts and systems and indicators and whatever. And this can be quite time-consuming. And if you lost that information, you might be upset. So in order to make that not happen, we've included a backup. And you've been able to back it up before, but it's been a little more laborious. And you have to close all charts to get this to work. Oh, sorry, I didn't have that many charts open. So just go to the top, say File, Backup User Files, and then you can name that file and save it anywhere you choose. preferably on an external drive or somewhere where it would be safer than necessarily on the same drive as the rest of your information. And if you needed to restore that data, currently we're saying go ahead and give us a call to help you restore, but it is restorable and it's not a hard task, and it makes your life a lot easier if something happens to, or when something happens to your computer. Right. Back of user files. Excuse me, delete smart charts. Okay, this is another thing you kind of have to be a current user to really get, but let me try to illustrate it for you real quick. Let's say you open a smart chart. Well, okay, if you're not a new user, you probably don't know what a smart chart is. A smart chart basically is the ability for MetaStock to say, I'm going to keep all the stuff you put on your chart and not make you save it every time, and it'll be there the next time you open the chart. So for instance, if you had a Fibonacci retracement you want to draw on here. That's not a Fibonacci retracement. Sorry, my readers aren't doing that great. Anything you wanted to draw on here, basically a line, anything that you want to save for later. If this is a smart chart, you don't even need to save it. You can just close out of the chart, boom, and then you open the chart again, and it's still there. Now, if you've done this to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 charts, and for whatever reason you say, okay, I'm done with all this stuff, rather than having to go into every single chart and delete it individually, you can just say, first close out of the chart, and say, delete smart charts. And what this will do, will delete the whole set of smart charts you have on your computer. You say yes. It says it's been deleted, and then when you open that again, you'll see that. Oh, that's the thing I was talking about before. When you open the chart, you'll find that stuff is no longer there. So delete smart charts, one fell swoop. Very simple. Seemingly not that important, but if you've been working with MetaStock for a while and you do a lot of your charts and you'd like to customize them, you'll see quickly how usable, awesome that is. All right, another thing, no to all. This is another thing. You may not think it's much until you've actually used MetaStock for a while. If you say, for instance, well, like I'm just doing right now. Let's say you open up a litany of charts, like 5 or 6 charts. All right, not smart charts, just regular charts. Clean. Or Bollinger Bands. Okay, now you open these up, and when you're ready to close them out, you say, okay, I want to close all these charts. At this point, it's saying, you used to not see this little thing on the right. It just said no, and you had to click them one at a time, say no, no, no. Now we just say no to all, and bam, they all close. And it's a quick way to get out of what you're doing and move on to whatever else it is that you wanted to do. That's no to all. Easier to find formulas and systems. Okay, another small thing, but a great thing. If you are looking at our, well, let's do it this way. Oh, this is a good one. If you look at our, previously, in previous versions of MetaStock, we didn't do a very good job of a naming convention for our systems, and they'd say things like Equus, whatever, or MetaStock 11, whatever, rather than saying MACD or, momentum indicators. There was some kind of thing in front of it that made it difficult to find. And we've cleaned all that up, so now you can find things pretty much in the fashion that you'd expect them to be in an alphabetical order. Easier access to exploration options. This is another little thing that's great. So when you want to do an exploration, you remember we talked about what an exploration was earlier. It's a scan, essentially. When you scan with MetaStock, you have the ability of scanning multiple securities against multiple systems. In this case, let's say you want to scan 90, whatever's selected right here, 90-day average against whatever. Let's not do that. Well, let's do something. Let's show multiple. So long-term bearish, long-term MACD. No, where am I? Excuse me, just a second, please. RMO. Okay, RMO bearish. Excuse me, RMO bullish. Market trend blue, and down a little bit. Swing trade buy. Now, what that is a classic RMO scan that you'd set up. If you want to find RMO that's leading up to a buy opportunity, it's a setup for a buy opportunity in the RMO. And if you use the RMO, you do this all the time. And And let's see, you just want to do whatever scan. I'm not going to actually do the scan here, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But right here on the right-hand side is what I'm trying to get to, is this, without opening up any other windows, you can see, first of all, the things that you selected to scan, and second of all, you can put them in whatever order you want to. Now, it may or may not matter what order they're in, but it may, in fact, not matter what order they're in. And also, you have the ability to say, use the results from preceding expiration or use the selected instruments for all expirations. So either you're filtering down, so making, with each pass, smaller and smaller to get just the things you want, or you're doing 3 separate expirations. Point being, now you can select all this right from this window in the Explorer window, whereas before you had to go into other windows to do that. Right. Oh, sorry, I just showed you that. Also, when you do an expiration, the reporting, in the past, you know, if you did an expiration and you have done it previously, I don't see an example of one here, but there'd be a little R next to it and you'd know that you've done a report on that. Now we've got this little window right here and it says, hey, you can view all reports, and then you can see a list of all the reports that have been done, and there haven't been a lot because this is a new build of MetaStock on this computer. Or you can just see the ones that are selected, and it's just a quick way to drill down into your reports that was not previously available. Right, Elliott Waves. All right, now in addition to all the usability features and list management and things like that, one of the great things about MetaStock is just the litany of systems we have available to users. Users really like to be able to customize things and get things just the way they want, but they also like the ability to use systems that have been, you know, defined by experts and previous users that they've used over generations that really work. One of those systems that they've been asking for some time to be in MetaStock is Elliott Waves. Elliott Waves was formerly a add-on for MetaStock that sold for $400, Kelly? $300, yeah. So it was an add-on. You've been able to use it, but it was at additional cost. Now Elliott Waves is included with MetaStock 17. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Elliott Waves today. I'm not going to really go into detail because it turns out Elliott Waves is a fairly complicated system with fairly easy to understand results, but the system itself and the underlying math is not that easy to comprehend, so we're not going to go really delve into that. We do have, well, I don't know if we've produced a video yet on Elliott Waves, but I know we have documentation that comes with MetaStock 17, as well as you can look up Elliott Waves on the internet and find tons and tons and tons about Elliott Waves. I will tell you this, it's named after R.N. Elliot, who lived in the 18-something to 19-something. His primary objectives was to find a pattern that he could find, and you understand patterns are very important when you're using technical analysis of price and volume, and he wanted to find something that really reflected the psychology of the markets. And those are now called Elliott Waves. Now, okay, Elliott Waves are used to identify market cycles using market psychology. It breaks down waves that show you the characteristics of market psychology. It breaks it down into 8 kinds of waves. And finally, it's worth mentioning that a wave is a pattern, but it's different than like a head or shoulders. The thing that just makes a wave distinct is it's in fact a repeating, undulating, and increasing wave, or decreasing if it's a bearish situation, or increasing if it's a bullish situation. So, for example, here's a wave. Now, the thing that distinguishes it, and when I say wave, you know, you can imagine a light wave like this, right? It just goes like this. So in this case, it's a wave that's increasing, because if it's going sideways, it's of no use to you. So one goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, but ever increasing. And there's specifics to that. In this case, we see wave 1 has gone to a certain point, and wave 2 has gone to a certain point, and that's just the setup. Now, wave 3, in order to count as an Elliott wave, has to be higher than 1. And then 4, as it goes down, has to be higher than 2. And in fact, 4 has to be higher than 1. We didn't draw this particular illustration very well because that 4 should be ending right around here somewhere. And then 5 must be higher than 3. And that's the way Elliott waves, excuse me, using math sets up that pattern. And there's different types of wave. There's motive waves, which are identifying a push in the market, and then there's corrective waves, which are identifying a counter trend. And so it's all about support and resistance. And these are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The 2 and 4 are what we call interruptive waves. And then corrective waves are corrections completely in the market, and they're identified as well. You're probably not able to see this very well, so I'll help identify some things here. Let me get my little pointer here. So this is a typical, chart with an Elliott wave system thrown on it, and this green dot right here is identified as a 1. So we're just setting things up right here, right? And then it comes down and it's identified the second support as a number 2. Now, if we go up, there's some things happening here intermittently, but we don't see a 3 until we're way up here. Now see, of course, the 3 is higher than the 1, and the resulting 4 is higher also than the 1, and the 4 has to be also higher than 2. So now, even not understanding exactly the underlying math behind Elliott waves, you can see how that would be useful information to you as a trader, because now you've got a definite pattern you're picking up on. So if you say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 is not in this chart, but if this follows the Elliott wave pattern, then 5 is going to be above 3. So you can see that might be a useful thing to know when you're going long on this particular security. That is in the, well, I guess I can go on a little bit more. So again, these are directive waves and corrective waves. That's a directive wave and a corrective wave. There's a lot more to this than that, but I think to understand our program and the software, that's the crux of it that you need to understand the value of this and how it can be useful to you in trading. Another thing I should show you too, corrective wave examples, I say, okay. It measures volatility, and it does this when it's doing a scan. So when you scan, you have the ability to do it at a fast amplitude, a moderate amplitude, the things you're looking for, I should say, on the scan. A normal amplitude, a slow amplitude, and that will affect the wave type. So you can, in fact, scan and search for these different wave points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and others. And the way that works is you use this numerical code. So for instance, if you're looking for a wave 1, that's identified as, a wave A or wave B, which is a 1 and 2, since they're setups, are identified as A and B. A wave 3 is identified as a 3, a wave 4 as a 4, a 5 as a 5, and a 6, which is another resistance, is identified as C. So for instance, if you just scan, you can see here a 6, target corp at this particular scan date was identified, there was a 6, and everything after that period is the periods ago that particular wave took place. So in this instance, Target Corporation had a wave 6, 148 bars ago, depending on whatever type of chart it is you're looking at. Okay? And again, 5. And of course, if you're looking, I think obviously the thing that would be really important to you is to be looking for 4s and possibly 3s as setups. And in summary, it identifies market cycles using market psychology. It breaks down the waves that show the characteristics of market psychology. There's 8 different kinds of waves, and waves are different than patterns again. And finally, I'll say one more time, you can really dig into this stuff, and we're not doing that today for lack of time. Another system that is very popular and has been popular for some time is Martin Pring Special K. You have probably heard of Martin Pring. He's a very distinguished British gentleman. He's very smart. I've met him. He's very nice. And he has the KST indicator, which has been around for some time. You may have heard about it. You've probably maybe seen it on your broker's list of indicators or whatever, generic list of indicators you have. That's different than the Special K. The KST stands for no sure thing, no as in knowledge. It's a momentum indicator, which is primarily what Mr. Pring does, and it's based on rate of change, and it's a single line as a moving average of KST. I should say signal line is moving average of KST. Now let's show this real quick. This is the KST. This is not the Special K. KST is the one we just said that's more available than the Special K. And what it does is when it shows a crossover, that is a buy. And then when it shows another crossover, that's a sell. Not unlike the MACD. You can see a buy, sell, sell. And you can see with this chart up here, that's not a bad indicator, right? This is a good opportunity to buy. You would have made some good change there. If not a little lagging, right? It's lagging just a little bit in that opportunity. And what Martin Pring wanted to do was give some more immediacy to that indicator, so he developed the Special K. The way the Special K works is it takes price at any time as influenced by interaction of many different time signals, which is to say it uses 3 different time signals. As you can see here, you've got a primary trend, which is 9 months to 2 years. It's got an intermediate trend, which is 6 weeks to 9 months, and a short trend. And it fuses these, if you will, to make one indicator that can give you more immediate representation of when a buy or sell opportunity might occur. And let's show that here. Oh, excuse me. It signals primary trend reversals at an earlier stage, as I just mentioned, and it tells you when short-term opportunities are developing in that same direction. Now I'll show you. So this is the Special K, and as you can see, what it's doing is anytime there's a dip, an undulation, not unlike a rubber band going down and snapping back up, it's showing some support, and it's saying that might be a buy opportunity. And as you can see here, it doesn't do a bad job of showing you that there's a buy opportunity, or in this case, a short opportunity or sell. And it does that all along. Now, that is not particularly easy to read, so we've added some confirmation. First of all, you have the Special K with the KST, and this is a chart that you can pull up in MetaStock, just like this one, and then it shows you the price of the stock up here. And then if you go one more, because you can see that's sort of difficult to see, right? So if you add the expert advisor, it now gives you more easy to see buy and sell signals, or at least signals that show you when you might be interested in this particular security. In this case, we're talking about McCormick. So now you can see if there's a green line here, it is showing that the Special K is in agreement with the KST, saying that there's a bullish opportunity. If it is red, it is showing that there's a bearish opportunity, although not too great right there. And if it's black, it's showing that they're really not in agreement, and it's not showing you any signal that you can act upon. That is basically the Special K. And I should also mention you can explore on the Special K, or scan, as some people will say, based on the max buy in a primary bull, the max sell in a primary bear, the positive slope in a primary buy, and the negative slope in a primary sell. Now, things are a little quiet. Does anybody have any questions? Kelly, any questions on YouTube? All right, let's move forward. Okay, the final thing to talk about in MetaStock 17 is the RMO Commentary Window. Now, again, if you know MetaStock, you've heard of the RMO, and I mentioned I use it myself, and I very much enjoy it. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's open up an RMO chart. Since we've been using Apple so much, I'll just do Apple again. Now let's shake it up and do IBM. And you can say, identify it before you even open the chart. You may or may not know that about MetaStock. To open up as the RMO trade model and open the chart. Now, again, I won't get into exactly what the RMO is. It shows you buy and sell opportunities based on the positive or negative position of this oscillator, and whether an arrow is blue or red, and whether it's in a bullish zone, and these things must line up. And the strength of the RMO is it really tells you to buy or sell when there's a little momentum, a little strength behind that, when the trend is based, not right at the apex. And so it's a great opportunity, especially for conservative traders. And one thing it's been lacking is a commentary. And now, what a commentary is in MetaStock, you may or may not know this, is once you open a commentary in MetaStock, you'll see right here there's this little upside down black triangle, and that's pointing specifically at the date. It's easier to move if I do it this way, at the date you are interested in seeing. So right now I see a blue arrow on IBM, and there's a blue bar above it. And if I don't know the R, well, that of course would be a horrible time to buy, and the R wasn't telling you to buy there, but if I don't know that, I can read here and see whether it's set up for bullish. Now, in this case, it's not, because the next bar was not blue, and I can't tell looking at this, but it's in a bearish situation. So now the commentary, first of all, it tells you how to use the RMO, giving you the setup and the buy setup, and then it tells you below specifically at that particular position is a bullish, bearish, and if the red is if you got a red bar or blue bar, or if the arrow is up or down, and it gives you more explanation. So, in summary, any questions about anything we've talked about today? All right. In summary, new features. We've got QuoteCenter, which is a great list management tool. We've got OptionScope, which gives you really everything you want to know about options in order to analyze and trade. You've got the legacy file format if you're interested in using the downloader for offline stuff. You've got the automatic update of symbol database, which gives you the ability to not have to worry about your symbol database. Essentially, you can just forget about it. Pre-post market data, which tells you what's going on before and after the market closes. You've got over 14 enhanced usability features, which I didn't go into all of them today. If you want to see a full list, you can go to MetaStock. I'll show you in a minute, actually. The Elliott Waves System, the Martin Pring Special K system, and finally the RMO Commentary Window. Now, at this point, you may be asking yourself, Greg, how can I get my hands on this fabulous MetaStock 17? And I'll tell you right now. If you go to MetaStock.com. Now, I should mention that, of course, we're very excited about the launch of MetaStock 17. And so to make that more exciting, we've, of course, I don't know how to spell. Can't talk and type at the same time. I apologize. Okay, so as part of our launch, we've got some great deals going on, not only the purchase or upgrade of MetaStock, but also some other things. And let me identify this website to you. This is metastock.com/hs19. Now, Kelly will probably put that in the chat window for you on YouTube. Basically, you can go here to see how MetaStock is available to you, or I should say what price it's available to you and what kind of deals you can get. To understand this page really quickly, if you are a current owner of MetaStock 16 or MetaStock 15 and previous, what you'd want to do is select Upgrade to MetaStock 17, and then when you select, go Submit on the button below, it'll take you to a window where you log in, it'll identify who you are, it'll know what version of MetaStock you have, and it'll give you the upgrade opportunities. But essentially, they're this. If you have MetaStock DC of 16 below, you get it for $179 rather than $199. If you have MetaStock DC 15 or before, you can get it for $279 rather than $199. And in both of those cases, you'll get 1 free month of options data. Remember that MetaStock DC requires an extra add-on for options, and you can get Unleash the Power of MetaStock, which is a great video and printed manual series given to us by the fabulous Callie Clement, who is over there on the other side of the control panel. Then if you have MetaStock RT16 and you want to update to 17, it is $279, regularly $299. Or if you have 16 or before, that should say 15 or before. Typo on our website. Then you get it for $379 rather than $399. In that case, you get the free Unleash the Power of MetaStock. You don't need the options data because in that case, options data is included with your MetaStock Zenith real-time market data and news subscription. In addition to that, if you don't have MetaStock and you'd like to purchase, you have purchase opportunities over here that you can get at a discount. And also, we're offering discounts on almost really all of our add-ons, our once-off add-ons, $100 discount in most cases. And you can also get a free month of many of our subscription add-ons, free first month. And that is all there is. So if we have no additional questions, and I don't see any Kelly, anything over in there on YouTube? All right. Well, I just want to say thank you. Have I forgotten anything, Kelly?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you so much for attending today. We really appreciate when you guys come out and attend and interact with us. Don't forget, in just I think tomorrow or in the next day, or tomorrow is Thursday, is when Jeff Gibby, our sales director, awesome guy, is going to be giving his version of this presentation. And if you didn't think you got enough out of this, watch that one and ask Jeff some more questions that you may have missed on this one. Thank you again so much, and have a great day and successful trading.